Well, greetings, everybody. I hope that you're having a marvelous Passover. Here at sundown today, we will begin the Feast of Unleavened Bread. I do want to point out this here lovely lady, Dana Ashley, and she's got like 210,000 subscribers, but she brings out an excellent video here, and it says, more great news, citizen reporters go and do what the media won't. So what she's done is compiled a bunch of videos that had been sent to her, which basically results in this here picture. These people went around to all the hospitals that were stated, overrun by the virus and such. And people have gone in there, and there's nobody in the hospitals. There's no lines. There's nobody being tested. Some of the people went around trying to get tested, and they were told they didn't know anything about where they can get tested, that sort of thing. And here at the end it shows hospital disaster drill in progress. Just a little bit of a preview.
Let's see.
This is Elmhurst Hospital.
Mask on and everything.
Using this for educational purposes only.
Nobody. Completely empty. This is police, no EMS, nothing.
So as you can see, we may have been duped on these things. We've been duped before, but anyway, this is, like I say, Dana Ashley's most current video. This is from March 31st, 2020. One of the most. Anyway, last night was the Passover, and what a day that was. Boy, I'll tell you what, I don't know if you've ever used these before. Nice little sticks that you can put your spices on the inside and close them up and push your meat on. As you can see, they're very sharp. But anyway, the lamb came out tremendous. It was marvelous. At the last minute, when I had my meat almost fully cooked out there on the grill, I came to realize, man, I don't have any unleavened bread. So I had to quickly make some. Okay, and this is what I've got. I made enough for last night. You were supposed to have unleavened bread with the Passover covenantal meal. And you need to have unleavened bread every day of the feast now. And this is what I use to make it on. I don't know if you can see it too well or not, but this is just the perfect size to make the tortillas. Way you can make your own unleavened tortillas is just, take a cup of flour or so, 5 cups of flour, depending on the size of your family or whatever. I would say with a cup of flour, you put about a tablespoon of oil in there with it. Mix it up real nice, a little bit of salt. And then you could either put milk or you could put water in there to make yourself up a dough. You don't want it real sticky or anything like that. Just mix it up and then roll it out. Take a little chunk, and I use a kombucha bottle actually for my rolling pin. And I roll it out, throw it on the old skillet there for a couple of minutes. You'll see it might start, and it's not being leavened. It's just the steam within the flour itself that may make it bubble. That's not leavening. There's no leavening agent that you should put in there. It's just the heat making it rise sometimes. And once you start seeing it bubble up a little bit, just flip it over and toast it to where it's done. And then you've got your unleavened bread. No leavening is supposed to be in your house at any time during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Let's remember that. I don't know if a bird just slapped into my window or not, but something banged me. Anyway, tonight at sundown, let's take a look over here at the calendar. You can see here today is the 6th of April, and at sundown begins the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And it always will have a full moon during a feast for the 7-day feast or the 8-day feast tabernacles. Here at Psalms 81 verse 3, it says, blow the trumpet at the time of the new moon, at the full moon, on our solemn feast day. For this is a statute for Israel, a law of Yahweh to Jacob. Now it also shows here, I wanted to run through just so that you can see that it speaks of the Passover up here in Exodus 12:13, how to keep the Passover. And I don't know of any that did it properly this year, because finding a lamb is just almost impossible. I don't have a vehicle to get out. I'm feeling horrible about it, but there was no way I could get out. Plus, with the coronavirus, nobody wants you on their farms or anything else either, uh, as they think the coronavirus is going around. And it may be, but as far as the research, once again here by Dana Ashley, uh, it just doesn't seem like there's many people out there being sick, or even at the hospitals, and even the hospitals don't know what's going on. They claim that they're running through cash like crazy, getting poor because of all the operations and such that had been canceled, and things of this sort. But take everything with a grain of salt. Please watch the video here tonight. Today at sundown will end the Passover. Now today's not been a Sabbath day. At sundown will be a Sabbath day. The first day of a feast is always going to be a Sabbath. And the last day as well. Now here it says, and this day shall be unto you as a memorial, and ye shall keep it to a feast to Yahweh throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. So it's very important that you do not eat leavened bread, crackers, cakes, anything of this sort. You can also make unleavened bread, to where you just mix your flour with the oil and water or milk or whatever. You could also add in there like coconut. You could put in dates and walnuts, whatever you like. Put a little sugar in there, honey, mix it up, and you can bake them, a little bit thicker, to where they're like bars or whatever, granola bars. You could put oatmeal in there with it. You can do all sorts of things, making unleavened bread, to where children will really enjoy it as well. But it's supposed to be eaten as a remembrance of the bread of affliction that they had left out of Egypt. They didn't have risen bread when they left. They didn't have time to make it yet. So when they did make the bread, it was unleavened. And that's what we're to eat for 7 days. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation. And that's what I'm hoping this video is going to be. And I'll try to bring videos during the feast, every day of the feast, hopefully, depending on my health. I'm starting to feel a little bit down right now, actually. I usually get sick during every feast because we're supposed to rejoice. So somehow I usually get quite ill during the feast. I'm hoping this feast will be a little different. But I feel a little congestion and stuff coming on, and taking care of myself the best I can. And it may just be that I'm still detoxing, so that's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, Exodus 12:16 says, in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. So in other words, on the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, you can cook, okay? But you don't want to make some real big elaborate project out of it. You don't want it to be work so much, but you're allowed to cook what you need on the first day and last day, so long as they don't fall on a Sabbath. And usually they won't, but I've seen at times where the first day of unleavened bread did fall on a Sabbath, and then of course the last day too. Anyway, there shall be the holy convocation we're going to do. Okay, here in 12:17 says, and ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in the self same day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generation by an ordinance forever. Okay, so there's no reason for us not to keep the feast of unleavened bread or the day of Passover. It says, in the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. Okay, so it's very easy to see on the 14th day would be the Passover, and we were supposed to have unleavened bread with the Passover covenantal meal. And of course, the males needed to be circumcised in order to partake in that. So I hope nobody ate it that was uncircumcised. Even the ladies are supposed to be circumcised in their eyes, their ears, their heart. You know, they're supposed to be circumcised as well. Nobody is, not part of that. They all have to be circumcised in one way or the other. But the males also, in order to partake of it, need to have the circumcision in the flesh. Not eating it, it's one thing. It all depends on your faith, but as Paul was speaking of, as soon as a new convert, someone just starting to hear the truth, and they realize they're not supposed to steal, or they're not supposed to go into the temples of the gods and worship gods. They're like, wow, I didn't. And then someone says, well, now you know that, you better get, your weenie whacked. Well, that's not how it works. The way it works is, it talked about, they only gave them like 3 or 4 laws to start keeping, not to eat meat that was strangled or with the blood in it and such, and not to prostitute yourself to the gods. These things were the beginning, and it also says something that most people never seen. It says, for is not the law taught on every Sabbath in every city in the synagogue? So after someone started to become converted, every week they would go on the 7th-day Sabbath and they would hear the law of Moshe being taught. After a while, when they decided they loved the law or wanted to keep the law and become part of the Israelites, then they would make up their mind later to be circumcised. But it wasn't, a criteria to be circumcised the first day that you found out you were to keep the truth. Anyway, it says, Exodus 12:20, ye shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. So anyway, that's what we are to do. Then Moshe called for the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families and kill the Passover. Okay, our king never became this Passover lamb. Our king was not even killed on the Passover. It was prior. There were men on the outside of the praetorium after Yahshua was brought to the praetorium to get the snot kicked out of him for your and my sins, to lay his life down for us. And the men that were of the faith, so you can say, stood outside of the praetorium so they wouldn't become defiled by being in there, the death and everything else being on them, to where they wouldn't be able to partake in the Passover covenantal meal. Then it talks about how to take the hyssop and such, put it on your doorpost. But please read this chapter here. It'll explain a lot. We are to keep the feast of unleavened bread. And as you can see here, it talks about the full moon. Blow the trumpet. This is Psalms 81:3. Blow the trumpet at the time of the new moon, at the full moon, our solemn feast day. For this is a statute for Israel, a law of the father of Jacob. So it shows there's going to be a full moon during the feast. Now, for those that had waited till they saw a crescent, they're not going to keep the feast. They're not going to keep the feast. They may pretend they're keeping the feast of unleavened bread, but our Father's not going to be there with them because they're disobedient. Disobedient children. If you wait for a crescent, you waited too long, you will not have the full moon at the feast is going to be tonight. At sundown starts the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and there will be the full moon, just like King David was singing about. Blow the trumpet at the time of the new moon, at the full moon on our solemn feast. So if you don't have a full moon going on during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, then you're at the wrong place, okay? And you're disobedient to what was spoken of by Moshe to the children, as well as the prophets of old, and our king as well, telling us to keep these feasts. But anyway, this here evening starts the full moon, will be a Sabbath. It's the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, starting sundown on April 6th through sundown on April 7th will be the Feast of Tabernacles first day. And for 7 days, we will keep the feast. Hopefully. We don't know what's going to take place. Maybe something will take place this feast to jar the world, to wake them up. You know, as I was looking through this video here, it kept hitting me in my mind, Revelations 22, verse 14 and 15, where it speaks of if you keep the laws, then you'll have the right to enter into the kingdom, right to the tree of life. And in verse 15, it talks about those who loveth and practiceth a lie. And that's all I could think of with this here video that was going on, is that right now they've got everybody practicing a lie. If that's what this is, okay? Again, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. I don't know what's going on in this world today, my friends, but I do know that we should be keeping the laws and the commandments. That's what's going to set us free. As far as all the death and things that are taking place, it even shows in here in this video where they had an emergency room scene that they not only used for what's going on allegedly in the United States of America, but also over in Italy. When they were first talking about Italy having the problem, it showed the trauma center there, and it was the same clip that they used and said it was America as well, you know. So and then of course at the very end here, where it shows the signs up here that these
Zero
are just a
evidence
drill.
of people getting tested or evidence of chaos, but what it did have were big signs out front surrounded by orange that said hospital disaster drill in progress. Drill, huh? Interesting.
Yep, we've been drilled possibly. So, you know, like I say, please give her a view here. This was from March 31st, 2020. Again, I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I'm not myself today. My head, as I'm speaking, is kind of like an echo. But I'm praying for y'all that you have a marvelous feast. Let us celebrate these things together. Hopefully our King will return before too awful long, another 7 years maybe or so, who knows. We'll figure it out. I do believe that the first seal may have been already shot, especially since it's not even an epidemic or a pandemic is what was advertised, possibly. But the rider, the first rider that comes, has the bow without the arrow, to conquer and to conquer. And right now the entire world is being conquered, and there may not even be a reason for it other than lies. And like it says, those that practiceth, those that teacheth, those that loveth a lie, Santa Claus or Easter Bunny or any of these things, or maybe even what's taking place today. But we've been conquered, my friends. Let our King conquer us even further by our obedience to him, by keeping the 10 Commandments, by keeping the give or take 613 laws, the schoolmaster, the ones that pertain to you. You cannot keep all 613 laws no matter who you are, but as a body of our King in these last days, this woman can keep some of those laws that I can't keep, and I can keep some of the laws that she can't. So as a combined effort with the entire body, some are just a hair, some are a finger, some are an eye, some are a tooth. We all have different functions within the body, and as a body, we will keep the entire law because of the other members doing as they are supposed to in keeping the laws that pertain to them. So by keeping the 10 Commandments, by keeping the give or take 613 laws, the schoolmaster will then bring us to our King, where we will trust in our King only. So let us rejoice, let us get ready. I'm going to be blowing this bad baby tonight. And I need to practice so that it might sound worthy of praise to our Heavenly Father through His righteous Son. Hey, I love y'all. Please be safe.